Hello. Scheduled therapy session with a private therapist. Just kind of wanting to introduce this therapist to you know, the personification of evil. I always do that. I can never figure this out. Nine, 3, 3. Okay. How does one ping? Oh, here we go. Haven't actually eaten anything, so probably have to. Lucifer Romano II. I think my cinematic mode screen is a little cut off at certain parts, but I don't think it's too terrible. Took her a while to respond to that. Let's see if she actually shows. There's probably been enough signs / red flags to be like, Every move you make. It's just that song is like literally playing right now on that with this playlist on this music stream I got going. At least a version of it. So I'm just like, it's just like, okay. Selena Easy. Interesting. Like, you have like Lucifer twatted, then Kenneth Jesperson twatted, and then I don't know who this is, but that name seems evil. Azil. And like Selena, you know, like sometimes I've seen that name like used for evil in the past. I imagine if she does show, like, she probably would have like a bunch of people just like watching. And it's funny because he's not like he's introduced himself yet. It's not like she knows who this person is. I'm wondering if she's able to even, because I gave her the ping. I may have to like kind of a trashy hotel, honestly. I mean, it looks kind of nice, but you got this trash everywhere, you know, kind of takes away from... Not quite as nice a hotel as one would have thought. Let me just see. I think she might be in like the. There's a hotel kind of across from the parking garage. I don't know if she's in the right spot. Mirror. Mia. Not in character. I mean, I heard Tessa was, you know, up to some shenanigans. It's possible she's in, like, the back somewhere. I'm wondering where she came in from. She probably. I mean, I don't really know. I'm not as. Okay. Wondering then if she's been here before. I'm wondering if she's still in, like, the right area. Because when she said she'd head up, I assumed she was just below. You know, leave it to me to make it confusing, you know? That's what I live for. I live for the confusion. I mean, it is a pretty good spot to kill, that's for sure. I never used this spot. I actually just found this spot for the first time yesterday. I didn't even know this was here. Or if I did, I forgot. Okay, she's by a different pool. You must be by a different pool. You must be by a different pool, then. Unless, like, she's, like, invisible. Unless we're, like, existing in different worlds right now. Which is entirely possible. Because I'm just wondering if this place is, like, scuffed or something. God, if this place is scuffed... What a fucking RP killer. Still not working for that. Simulation in a simulation. I don't know if she accepted the first ping. I don't remember seeing that. Of course, now it's getting dark out. Kenneth has not eaten yet, though, either, so... Oh, is he now? Like, I had Kenneth... Kenneth said that, you know, he's heard that, like, 10,000 times before. Like, he's just like... Kenneth's like, oh my god, that's the first time I've ever heard that. Basically, this is hide and seek. Can you find Mr. Smiley? That's the object of the game. Can you find Mr. Smiley? I mean, I might just have her, like, ping me to her just to see where... Yeah. Where in Los Santos is Mr. Smiley? Where in the world is Mr. Smiley? Okay, somebody got out of a car. So maybe they finally found it, or maybe that was just somebody at the gas station. Like, I didn't want to, like, go out and find her myself and help her because I didn't want to break the immersion, but it's just at the same time, it's like, you know... I don't know, which place was she at then? I'm just wondering where she was at then, if she... Like, where specifically in the resort? Because if there's, like, more than one ocean area, or like,
Hi. Sorry for the wait. Apparently I was
Hello?
at the wrong resort.
Oh. There are more
There's
than
one
one
just on the road
resort
on
in
the
this
other side.
area?
Yeah. Yeah, there's one just on the other side of this
Really?
building. Yeah.
Huh. That's interesting, because this is actually the first time I've even... I found this resort yesterday. I didn't even know it was here. Been
Yeah,
here
and
for-
it has a pool and everything, so I was like, I'm at the pool, I can't
Oh,
see.
okay. Yeah, I was confused. But is there, like, more than one pool at this resort? Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, I was like circling, I was like, is there one in the back or something? But no, that makes
Well,
more sense.
I apologize for putting you on a wild goose chase. I just...
No, it's
you know,
okay.
wanted to see if you could find me.
Well, we got there in the end.
Yeah, I got there in the end.
Yeah. Oh, hi, I'm Maeve. It's a pleasure.
I'm Kenneth Jesperson. Nice to meet you as well.
Yeah.
You, got here just in time for the sun to go down, and with the lights on the jacuzzi turn on, it gets really, like, glowy. It's actually quite
Pretty.
cool.
Yeah, I like the color pink.
Oh, nice, nice.
Okay, do you want to take a seat? Do you want to stand?
I'll stand. I'm actually thinking that at some point we might, go on a little drive as well, if, that's okay with you.
Yeah, well, we'll see how it goes.
Okay. Well, hi, I'm Ken.
Hi.
I'm just Ken. So,
You're enough.
yeah, I am very Kenneth.
Yeah, all right. Give me a second here to pull up my notes.
All right.
Ken, can you spell your last name for me?
Jes person. I think it might be some type of, I'm not really sure. Is it? I thought maybe it was like Scottish, but I don't think that's the case.
I don't think so. Might be English.
Well, I do have roots out there, so I don't know. I haven't exactly been looking into that much over the years.
Okay. So just a few things before we get started.
All right.
Your sessions with me are confidential. So everything you say within the confines of our session remains between us. I will be taking notes periodically throughout, so if I'm slow to respond, I'm not ignoring you, I'm just writing something down.
All right.
And then my only sort of like criteria for the session is that you are honest with me. If there's something you're not comfortable
Yeah,
talking
won't lack
about,
that here.
yeah, if there's something you're not comfortable talking about, you can say that. We can maybe poke at why. But we don't get anywhere if you lie to me, right? It's just not going to be productive. So I ask that you're honest with me, and if there's something you don't want to talk about, just say you don't want to talk about it, and then we can go from there.
Okay. Well, there's very few things that I don't want to talk about, but I get you're already more professional than some of the official therapists.
Yeah, well, I'm new to the city, so they're sort of, I guess, putting me through the ropes to see if I can hack it. So
How new are you?
about 3 weeks now, just shy of, I think.
Oh, okay, okay. Well, I've been here for, I don't know, I guess 4 years, 4.5-ish years, something along those lines. So, you know, I've been around if you need to find places, you know, I can maybe help you
Yeah.
find them.
Okay. Um, since this is our first session, let's get started with some general history type stuff.
Okay.
Um, first of all, does this place have any significance here, or is it just a fun spot?
Just a fun spot. Like I said, I didn't
Okay.
even know it was here until yesterday.
And do you have any pre-existing mental health conditions that you're aware of?
Okay, how do I answer this question?
Honestly.
Well, it's not so. Okay, yeah. It's. Okay, so I guess I am. My official therapist is serotonin.
Okay.
And she hasn't been around in a while, so I've been kind of hopping around with different therapists. And you're the first private therapist I've spoken to. So I am a psychopath. Probably antisocial personality disorder, extreme narcissism, incredibly egocentric. I don't know if you really could consider that, like, medical conditions per se, but that's what
Yeah,
I was diagnosed as,
they
I
are.
guess, per se.
Okay. Let me make sure I get all these written down. Can you go through them again just a little bit slower for me?
Okay, so I guess technically it's antisocial personality disorder, or otherwise known as, you know, psychopathy or sociopathy or whatever the term is in that instance, mixed with extreme narcissism and egocentricity.
Okay. And are you on any medications at all?
Hell no. It's interesting, actually, because nobody's ever actually wanted to prescribe medication to me, which is... You'd think by now they would have done that, but I guess not.
Well, it sort of depends on what you're dealing with and how well you're managing in your day-to-day life. Um, Psychopathy, for instance, like isn't something that's really medicated in the same way you might medicate like anxiety or depression.
Of course.
Narcissism also does not have a medication per se.
I see.
These are more things that we try and, give you tools to handle in your day-to-day operations.
Right. Well, I've mostly just kind of, I've figured it out myself, I guess, so to speak.
Okay.
We'll get into it here soon. You have any more basic baseline questions?
Just if there's anything else you think it's important for me to know, any sort of background on you that you would like me to know that you think would be helpful, anything like that.
Oh boy, okay. I'm just trying to figure out how to get into this, because it's a doozy.
Okay.
It's a doozy, all right. I do have one question for you, though. Did you call a bunch of people or text a bunch of people to let you know where you were going?
Why do you ask?
Just curious.
There is someone that knows where I am. Yeah.
Okay, that's good. That's good. I also texted you a bunch, so that's a paper trail. So if anything should happen to you, they'll know that it was me.
If you were to do something to me, would you want them to know it was you?
No, actually. I mean, here's the thing. Okay, so we're gonna go into it a little bit more now.
Okay.
So, like, if I were to do something like that, I would ensure that I was entirely dressed up in a different look, voice changer, the works. I would have a vehicle on standby. I would be in that vehicle. I'd be stalking the place. I'd be scoping everywhere that I could possibly find. And then I would, soon as there are no witnesses and or very few witnesses, I would then jump in and I would grab them and put them in the back of the car. Now, let me, as you write your notes,
Mm-hmm.
let me say that I have faced judgment for everything. So, I am free and clear. I haven't done that in a very long time. You won't find any records of it, but I am free and clear. I'll give you a moment.
Yeah, sounds. Okay, so no current warrants or anything.
No.
Okay.
No
yeah,
warrants.
And like I said, everything here is confidential. So, I mean, you can talk about crime. I'm not going to report it. The only issue is if you do something that would cause our records to get subpoenaed. But other than that, everything you ever say stays between us. So,
Okay. Well, you could probably ask a few people in the city about me, and they would probably give you different answers. So if you know, there's people that they know who I am, and they have their thoughts and feelings about me, and they'll express those thoughts and feelings for damn sure. But I guess to answer, to give you some backstory as much as possible, yes, I am technically speaking a serial killer. Yes, I have killed a lot of people and or injured a lot of people. I was, quote-unquote, the leader of a, quote-unquote, cult known as the Smileys. We were all kind of into the same thing. And, once upon a time, we wreaked terror upon this city. And, we did a lot of, not so nice things to people. I personally, well, actually, I've done more than that. I've actually, let me think here. In the city, probably about 26 people total, myself. However, my family, which in and of itself kind of did things on my behest, did a lot more. So I guess...
you're saying 26 kills were your own?
Yeah, 26 kills.
Okay. And then more that were done on your behalf by others that were with you.
Yes. Or perhaps I was with them while they did it. It was sort of a, like I said, a quote-unquote cult, as they call it. I mean, I never quite liked that, but, it is what it is.
You, when you're talking about this, you tend to speak a little bit faster, get a little excited. Do you still have those urges to hurt people?
The thing about me is that I never really thought of myself as somebody who really had quote-unquote urges. Like, I was more or less trying to fulfill, I guess, a need to feel better about myself, about things. But I've come to learn recently that it's honestly, trying to search for empathy from people is not exactly the right move.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I've found that no matter what I say or how I try to quote-unquote justify my actions, it doesn't garner sympathy from anybody. So I've kind of just come to the point to where I no longer wish to indulge in the concept of sympathy or empathy from other people. And it was weird of me to even try and attempt to garner that. Does that make any sense to you?
A little, but I don't think that you're necessarily correct. Well, yes,
Not according to Joanna Golden.
Well, I mean, so objectively, the things that you've done, killing people, right? That's objectively a terrible, not good thing.
Objectively, yes.
Yeah. That doesn't mean necessarily that you are beyond sympathy or empathy, or at least understanding of your motivations. However, nobody is required to give it to you, right? So,
Of course.
this Joanna Golden or whoever, you could go up to them and say, "Hey, here's why I did what I did." And yes, it's a terrible thing, but maybe I'm not the monster you think I am, etc. However that conversation went.
Oh, I am
And
the
they can
monster
say,
she thinks I am.
but they can say, no, fuck you. You killed people. I have no sympathy for you, and that's entirely their right. But that also doesn't mean that you're not necessarily deserving of being understood.
I see.
Right.
No, I get your point. Obviously,
Everybody...
and that's the thing is that I had a personal sort of stake with, quote unquote, with Joanna Golden, so it made sense for her to be pissed at me. Do you know Joanna Golden?
I do not.
She's a therapist, I guess, that works for Pixie.
Yeah, I've met a few of the hospital therapists, but not all of them yet.
Yes. She had a here's the thing though, is that I called her and she didn't really know it was me, and then we met at Legion Square, and she had issues because she knew one of my children, and she felt bad for them because well, they weren't necessarily part of my family by choice.
Mm-hmm. So not biological children or adopted children, but actually, is this for your the members?
The reason why they call it a cult is because we kind of sort of viewed each other in that way, sort of. I mean, I had
so you were like the
lots,
father and
yes,
the other members were your
or
children?
grandfather, depending on who you are.
Mm-hmm.
People would look to me for guidance, and I would try to give it to them. We were once incredibly massive, but we have definitely scaled down.
How many would you say are left?
Well, one of them, there's me, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5, but I'm gonna say 4 remain.
Compared to how many before?
Yeah. I mean, before it was I don't know, there was probably too many, honestly. Probably 11, 12, maybe 13. We're not exactly a thing right now, but, And just for the record, we're not going to, we're not repeating the things we did before.
You're not starting back up again?
No, at least not in the way that we did before. I've been a lot more open about, who I am and what I represent, so I guess in that sense we're kind of almost like a gang now, if you want to call it that.
Mm-hmm.
Or whatever.
If you, meet with what term would you prefer for them? Your family, your group, your friends? Do you have a
At this stage, probably just my friends, really.
Okay.
Except for maybe one, but he hasn't been around in a while.
Alright. So, you see your friends, you meet up, what are you going to do? Do you still intend to hurt people in some way, or, engage in criminal activity, or
No.
are you all, sort of, just living civilian lives at the moment?
I mean, we're mostly living civilian lives at the moment, we're mostly keeping to ourselves. We don't actually have any intention on hurting anybody, because we kind of already proved our points, if I'm being completely honest. And, you know, the last 5 years I've been doing some work outside the city because I had to earn my freedom, because I was in prison for a very long time. I was in prison for an incredibly long time. And, I made a deal, and the deal facilitated my release upon completing the conditions behind said deal.
Do you want to talk about that deal?
Well, the deal was basically I need you to help me kill a lot of people and go on a lot of operations against our enemies because I know of your reputation, and I'm kind of a fanboy. He didn't exactly say that specifically, but he was somebody who was aware of my reputation, and somebody who had a lot of pull in the city that he came from, and he managed to pull some strings to get me out of Bolingbroke prison and over to his prison in order to not be a prisoner there, but to work for him along with several other Bolingbroke inmates, some of which are probably out now on the outside. I haven't really had an opportunity to catch up with a lot of them, but
Were you formerly a guard in this prison?
I guess you could say that, yes. Something like that. Guard slash just a on-site mercenary. I don't really know how to describe it, but I was there to sort of whip people into shape and get them prepared to handle the work at this prison. One of the worst prisons in the country, actually. I could call it Dark Woods Penitentiary. It's the place that kind of created me in the first place, actually. And it defined me for a very long time, so... And it was very corrupt. It's a very corrupt institution, headed by an individual who had me do some things for him, along with other gangs and other groups who were there, in order to help him feel good about himself. Essentially, we were made to produce snuff films for him. And I was doing that for 20 years. And then, eventually I got out of that situation, and I found myself here in Los Santos. February 17th, 2020. And,
Was that your release or your arrival in Los Santos?
that's when I arrived in Los Santos. I had already escaped at that point from Dark Woods. I was traversing the country and landed here in a very peculiar state. Matter of fact, actually, I could probably show you the place where I was really born. If you wanted to go for a drive.
Why don't we save that for a session 2 if we have one?
Okay.
So you did escape from the prison rather than being formally released?
Well, everybody escaped because there was a... So, the prison kinda had a massive riot caused by someone who was supposed to be a star of one of the Warden's snuff films. It didn't go as planned. The star of the film fought back and managed to kill a hell of a lot of people at the prison. Ultimately, it resulted in an explosion in which most of the inmates got out and, went into every which direction. And, some of us ended up in, I don't know. I don't know where a lot of them ended up, honestly. There were some that wound up here with me during my time in the 4 years that I've been here. But it was more that the prison just kind of shut down.
Okay.
Now, I wasn't in that prison because I committed a crime, actually. I was in that prison because I was adopted by the warden.
The one who was producing the films.
Yes, yes, yes. My parents were... I believe my father was from Scotland, and my mother was from London. They were rich. They were very rich. I actually had a decent childhood, but I've only started to remember that within the last 2.5 years or so. Well, okay, that's not true. That's not true. Not 2.5 years. Within the last, more like 7.5 years. Which is a long time, you know, but I haven't exactly been dwelling on it too much, I guess. So, for a long time, I did not remember my childhood one bit. It took kind of, my girlfriend, sort of, saying something which sort of nudged me into remembering my childhood.
Like a trigger sort of.
Something like, yeah. And then it all just kind of came back to me, came flooding back to me. And I kind of only realized, kind of, like, what happened, I'm confident to say I was brainwashed when I was in Dark Woods, and which is the main reason why my memories were repressed. And I don't know if that was done on purpose, or if it was... I'm pretty sure it was done on purpose, honestly. They wanted me to be a killing machine. They wanted me to be a tool of death. Because, you know, you can't have a friendly guy, doing these things. You have to make a tool. You gotta sharpen the tool in order for them to be strong.
No, that's a good point. I think that it can be very hard for people to cause harm to other people and still be in touch with I think what most people would refer to as like their humanity, right? Those kinder, more empathetic emotions.
Yes.
So yeah, it makes sense that for you to do what you feel was expected of you, you kind of had to sever those feelings. And
Yeah.
sort of detach yourself from the situation, especially since it does sound like you were sort of raised in a not even sort of, you were raised in an environment of abuse, and a place where you didn't really feel safe.
So I had to make myself feel safe, which is why I had to adopt a lot of characters, and I had to... Sarah got this really quickly, but I had to method act. Since the whole thing about producing snuff films is that, you're acting. They're films, They may... It may be the bottom of the barrel in terms of movies, but they were still movies. The only difference is that these were real snuff films, compared to, the litany of fake ones. I had much worse scars on my face once, but I corrected them within the last 5 years.
How did that make you feel?
Well, I used to show them loud and proud, because I liked people being able to just see me and know who I was, just on the basis of my incredibly noticeable scarring. But unfortunately, it eventually started to become infected, and I had to take care of it. So within the last 5 years, I had the swelling sort of dampened down, and it's still there, but just not as vibrant as it used to be. And I mean, it was kind of like losing a part of myself. I do admit that. Your scars define you, and I guess even the scars of from somebody who, grinded their blade against your flesh, I was proud of it. It was mine.
Okay. One moment. So that's an interesting concept that you brought up here. The whole scars defining you. It's something I actually hear a lot as a therapist. Is that our scars define who we are. And I don't think that that's necessarily an incorrect way of looking at it. The things that we go through in life shape who we become, right? That's just a fact. Um, a way I like to look at things, like something my dad always said to me, right, when I was little, was like, don't look back, you're not going that way. And I always sort of agreed with it and sort of didn't. Because, for instance, like you as a child, right, maybe you touched a hot pan on the stove.
Mm-hmm.
And you remember, well, that really hurt. You got burned and you learned not to touch pans on the stove.
Mm-hmm.
It's not necessarily that you're hanging on to the burn, but you're hanging on to the lesson it taught you.
Right.
So, I don't think that your physical scars necessarily are who you are. And I also don't think that even your mental or emotional scars are who you are. I think what's important is what you take away from it. And I think that's a more empowering stance, right? Because the scars are something that were inflicted upon you that you didn't have a choice about.
Mm-hmm.
But the way you react to that situation, the lessons you decide to learn from it, the way you choose to look at the world going forward because of or despite those scars, is something that's entirely in your control.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that you act and the things that you choose to do and the words that you choose to say are far more of what you are, who you are, because you yourself are choosing them than what somebody else has done to you.
Mm-hmm.
You seem skeptical.
Well, it's difficult because, you say that, you know, the scars don't necessarily define you, but what if that's... Like I told you, I didn't even know where I came from until much, much, much longer later, so it's like, would I have even been able to define myself in any other way when all I knew was that from the very beginning? Because as far as I'm concerned, my life started when I was 13 years old. Quite literally. And the life before I was 13 years old could very well have been a dream as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, because you don't really remember it.
I mean, I do, but it's like it's just it wasn't there until until well into my career, quote unquote.
Mm-hmm. No, and that's a common experience too. Like you can speak to like children who were adopted, for instance, and then meet like their birth parents as adults. Um, you can know who they are and try and foster a relationship with them, but many times because you didn't have that experience with them growing up, like you don't necessarily have like that maternal bond with the person who is your mother because they didn't actually raise you, right?
Yes.
And a lot of times it can feel to people more like they're a good friend or like sort of like that aunt sort of figure in your life or something rather than your mother, like. um so I mean it makes sense that it's reasonable for you to feel distanced from those memories and those people. um and again, I would obviously the things you went through in Dark Woods and other parts of your life are massively traumatic, um, can have major impact on the things you've done, especially when you were in a survival mode like you were in the prison. um doing what you have to do to survive is absolutely different than being able to choose things of your own free will. Um, but again, I would reiterate that um, the person you are is the person that you choose to be. Of course, there will always be some things that may be out of your control. There may be situations you're forced into. There may be days where it's harder because you have tendencies or traumas that push you on a certain path. But you are always in control of your own actions and your own feelings. And the point of therapy is to try and help give you those tools or ways of reframing your viewpoints into more healthy and productive ones to help you become the person that you want to be rather than the person you feel your trauma has forced you to become.
That's a good point. And I appreciate it very much. You're saying kind of something similar to what Joanna said, except that you're saying it a little bit nicer than her. That's for sure. Here's the thing.
Well,
Here's the thing
yeah.
about me. Yes, you're right. I have full control, and I'm gonna be completely blunt with you. I have no regret whatsoever about anything, except for maybe one or two things here and there. Okay, maybe there's one or two things, but yes, I did it because I liked it. You wouldn't be the first person I've told that to. I mean, like I said, I've been here a very long time. And can I tell you why I want to talk to therapists?
Sure. You can always tell
Because
me if you
it's not so much that I want help. Now, when I was in prison, I wasn't forced to see serotonin. I wanted to see serotonin because, you know, it would have looked good for a parole hearing if I had a therapist, right? But she was really good. She was a really good therapist, you know, and I enjoyed our conversations. I enjoyed, you know, where our conversations would lead. So I suppose my actual interest here isn't so much wanting to help me out. Maybe I can be helped along the way. I'm not gonna sit here and deny that, you know, I probably need a little bit of help. But,
Everyone does.
yeah, but it's not my purpose for having conversations with therapists. My purpose is to discuss this, you know, us. The concept of psychology itself, you know? What makes a person like me the way I am? What makes other people like me the way they are? I'm just fascinated by the conversation, really. If that makes any sense. I've been sort of... certainly... So is that every 5 minutes? Every 6 minutes? Something like that? Or are you just getting regular texts?
Roughly.
Something like that, right. You're like a good old police officer there. What was I saying?
You wanted to discuss the concept of psychology and, you know, why people do the things that they do. Killing,
Yeah,
etc.
you know, I kind of... It's an interesting thing to explore, you know? Like, I've been close to psychology for many years, for better and for worse. Pixie's crew... Let's just say I have a tumultuous history with some of her older therapists, and I don't really know if any of them are around anymore. As a matter of fact, one of my first therapists is dead now. I didn't kill him. Just to say, I did not kill him.
Okay.
But we had a tumultuous history, a lot of back and forths, and it was interesting. You know, let's just sit here, and I'll tell you straight up, Pixie would tell me if I were to ever have a conversation with her again, but she would definitely be like, yeah, that one you want to avoid. That one you definitely want to avoid.
Do you feel it would be productive for me to reach out to the LSMG site group?
No, I don't think it would be productive, but
Okay.
because they'll just tell you that, you know, I mean, okay, you can reach out, obviously. I don't know how much information Pixie would really give, but like you could reach out to
it's sort
people
of up
like.
to you because like it's a matter of confidentiality, right? If you think it would help me gain greater understanding of you, I can reach out and get other opinions or see if they have any residual records.
I mean, I
like
could
this
probably
as
give you a
possible.
few names of a lot of different people that you could reach out to for. Well, then again, they would probably. Eh. Kind of depends on a number of factors. Like, are you looking for perspectives from people who have worked with me in terms of my mental state, or do you mean just a general sort of investigation? Like, if I were to give you that sort of leeway.
Yeah, either or. It's whatever you're comfortable with me knowing, or you think might be helpful for me to know.
Okay. I'm gonna give you some names, and if you want to reach out to them, some of them will probably laugh in your face or will be like, yeah, no. But I'm gonna give you these names anyway.
Okay, go slow second.
Just to help your investigation, if you choose to do some type of investigation. And that's gonna be... Jesse James. Stephen Hayes, Kiki Pendragon, Cassandra Silverton, I'll refrain from using this one. Let me think here. I mean, my actual therapist is Serotonin, but she hasn't been working in a while. Tanner Phillips. He's kind of, my other quote-unquote official therapist. I don't think he's very good. But, he's Tanner, he's Tanner. There is Ursula Leichenberg. Trying to think of some people that... I'm not giving you names of people that are in my family per se.
That's probably a good bit to start out with.
Right. I'm just... Yeah. I'm trying to think of more, but that's a baseline right there of individuals that you could probably look into just to find out how much of a fucking monster Kenneth Jesperson is. Or not. Some of them actually like me.
Okay.
By the way, you wouldn't happen to have, like, a donut on you or something?
Let me see.
I didn't exactly stop to get food when I woke up.
You got it.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I can
Basically, like, there's a lot of people in this city you could probably talk to find out about me, and they're gonna... I caused a lot of problems for a lot of people. I shouldn't be out of prison. But I am.
Was it the collapse that let you out?
Well, it was the deal I made that let me out, and happened during the
Oh, that's right,
collapse,
yes.
so yes. I was in prison, though, for... based on the time dilation, over 540 plus years.
Okay. So, I mean, between your experiences in your younger years with Darkwoods and your time in Los Santos and Bolingbroke, it sounds like prison has been a very formative sort of experience for you. I mean, it
Yeah,
seems almost like you've spent more time in prison than you've spent out of it.
yeah, I guess you could say I'm kind of like a modern day Charles Manson. Because he was kind of out of in prison quite a lot. Not for, me wanting to go to prison. Like, I never wanted to go to prison. It just happened because I wasn't caught. I wasn't actually caught. I turned myself in.
Why did you choose to do that?
Because I had a conversation with a good friend. Well, we weren't exactly friends at the time, but, it's a complicated relationship between me and this friend. That's another person you could talk to, Tessa Lamb. But I had a conversation with her, and, she never told me, that you should turn yourself in or anything like that. It was just it was a situation in which she said something that stuck with me, and it made me think. And despite my better judgment, I made the irrational decision to turn myself in.
I don't know that it's necessarily irrational. Yes, it puts you in a situation that you don't want to be in. Obviously, prison isn't a comfortable experience. And especially for you with your histories with prisons, it can be even more so than it would for a normal, convict. But I also imagine existing outside, warrants looming over your head, having to, be concerned about getting caught, can also be very stressful. And it seems like you're,
I was incredibly
at least relatively.
meticulous.
Yes.
I left no stone unturned. They knew who I was. They knew what I was doing. They just didn't have the evidence. And I liked that.
But even the most meticulous of people, even the most careful of people, the most thorough of people can slip or have some outside factor they just have no knowledge of.
Yes.
That fear always has to exist for you, no matter how meticulous you are.
Well, I never had a warrant, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah. But it's a matter of time, right?
Sure, I suppose. But I suppose we'll never really know because I made that decision.
True. But no, you don't have warrants. You are living a relatively civilian life by the sounds of it. That's not necessarily an irrational decision for you to have made. In fact, I would argue it was a productive one, even if it was a difficult one. I actually quite agree with the sentiment you expressed earlier about having an interest in the concepts of psychology and what makes criminals of various kinds criminals.
I mean, I've used it.
Especially compulsive ones like serial killers, serial arsonists, kleptomaniacs, etc.
Yes. I've used it, but just not in, let's say, I guess not in a legal way.
Used what? Psychology?
Psychology. A lot of people have called me very charismatic and very manipulative, and I don't necessarily see it the same way as other people have seen it. I feel like sometimes I kind of lose my words. So I don't think I'm quite as manipulative or as psychologically controlling as others might deem me so. However, I I was able to build an entire family, whether they wanted to be there or not, out of thin ice, so to speak, or whatever you want to call it. And so I guess I had some level of charisma in me, whether intentional or not.
That's a curious description you have there of your family, your friends. You said some of them wanted to be there and some of them didn't. People
Well,
who want to be there, sure, fine. What drove you to recruit people who didn't want to be there?
it wasn't so much a recruitment, it was, well, I already talked to you about what I believe happened to me.
Mm-hmm.
BW. I used to take people up to a shack in Sandy Shores. And we would subject them to various forms of psychological torment, with a dose of hypnosis. And at the end of those sessions, once they were deemed fit, they would then become one of us. Now, these were people that were already innately dark. I was simply bringing out their darkness to the surface. Wouldn't have worked on somebody like, say, you, for instance. I mean, you seem very nice. You seem very gentle. I mean, there might be a dark side in you. I don't know. Perhaps you have murdered, like, 70 people. Maybe you're the most prolific serial killer in the country.
God, wouldn't that be a plot twist? But no. I'm probably kind to a fault, to be quite honest.
So it wouldn't work on you, necessarily. That being said, you could give in, but, I mean, it's still...
I think every person is capable of having a dark side to some degree. It's just the degree of what their dark side is.
Right, exactly.
I'm certainly not a perfect individual, despite my kindness. But, that doesn't mean that I'm, going to go out and kill people.
Of course. Essentially, though, we would put people through that, and if they survived, they would come out and they would listen to every order I gave. However, I left their personalities mostly intact, though some's personalities changed, but it was kind of dependent on the person. But they would listen without question. However, they were still allowed opinions, They weren't robots. They were still human beings, and I saw them as such. And if they wanted to call me out on my shit, they very well could have done that. The only thing was that at the end of the day, they would have been still loyal to me and would do what I wanted. Or what one of my sons would have wanted.
You're sort of like lieutenant within the organization.
What's that?
Like you're sort of like lieutenant type roles.
Yes. I wasn't necessarily always the one who perpetrated those experiments. It was they were based on my designs, but sometimes my lieutenants would go into business for themselves, for better or for worse. I wasn't always on board with the choices that they made, but, that's what happens when you let a bunch of psychopaths loose. You get what you pay for.
Sure. So, you have described yourself as, sort of, you used the word narcissism, of being egotistical. Psychopathy or sociopathy is a, kind of an inherent detachment from emotions. And obviously, we've talked about the fact that you've lived through some very traumatic and formative experiences. I do see quite a lot of energy and passion and enthusiasm from you when discussing your work, um, and you know the acts you've committed in the past. You're proud of your, you know, being meticulous, of not having been caught. You um, have developed systems that you used that seem to be quite effective.
I'm a real
I'm
piece of shit.
curious. I You've done terrible things, and you know, are you objectively a good person? Um,
I think that I'm nice.
you've been to me, but like, are you like as a whole objectively a good person?
Is that you're asking
Probably
my
not.
opinion on that?
But no, it's more just me like elaborating on this thought. Like, but I think that there are reasons that have led to you becoming what you have become. Many of those factors being outside of your control. Um, I don't think that you are a concept that gets told to me a lot as a therapist is, well, I'm too broken, you can't fix me, I'm beyond repair, right? That sort of line of thought.
Mm-hmm.
um I've always been of the mind that there are very very few people that are beyond at least improvement.
Mm-hmm.
I do not think you are a person that is beyond improvement. I think
Really?
that the fact that you are showing interest in psychology and in understanding what makes you the way you are, I think the way that you are aware of the way that things in your life have affected you, that you continue to seek out psychological help despite the fact that it's not court mandated or anything, I think shows an openness and willingness to learn. And I mean, even in some of the things that I've told you, as far as like ways you can refresh your you know line of thinking and everything, and your openness to accepting those, like it shows potential. Maybe you are a disgusting piece of shit who's never going to get any farther, but that's not what I'm seeing at the moment. And maybe you are manipulative and charismatic and I'm just not seeing through your bullshit. Sure. But at this moment in time, based on first impressions from a first session, I don't believe that you are like this inherent monster who isn't worth the time of talking to. And I think that even if you are never perfect, even if you are never what society deems a, you know, quote, good person, if we can get you into a state where you are a better person and where you are feeling fulfilled and happy in
Well,
your life,
define
and
better
hopefully,
person.
well, objectively, you taking people up to a shack in sandy shores and psychologically torturing them is not a good person thing to do, right?
Right, right.
You going out and killing 26 plus people, not a
Mm-hmm.
good person thing to do.
Right.
If we can get you on a path where you're, you know, continuing the civilian life that you're currently leading, or at least civilian-ish, and you're not, you know, like murdering people and psychologically torturing people, would you not say that that is a vast improvement?
I mean, I guess it's kind of an improvement, you know, what I'm,
I would say
hey.
that's a major improvement.
I guess it's kind of an improvement, but, the thing is that, I kind of view it as, like, I kind of got bored of it, so I stopped.
Mm-hmm. So,
I mean, are you trying to make me to where, do you think then that I can go from being bored of it to looking back at it with, like, a level of disgust?
perhaps.
So you think that one day I could look back at it and be like, don't be that guy, yes?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, granted, these are serious acts, right? This is way different than like someone like having alcoholism or something, right? And being like, I'm never going to be that person again, right? Like being a serial killer, the term you used yourself is a huge thing. So
I mean, I hate that term, but that's what they say.
mm-hmm. Like, so yes, it may take more time. Yes, it's a bigger process, but I think that you are absolutely like have the potential to be, you know, for lack of a better term, rehabilitated in some way, shape, or form. I'm not saying you're gonna like, you know, become the leader of a Boy Scout troop and, you know, like run philanthropic organizations, but like you can be a productive member of society and you can learn to manage the feelings and urges that you have.
Productive. I'm sorry. It reminded me of something.
Does that word make you feel a certain way?
Well, I used to, Well, I guess I could just show you. I used to wear this mask all the time. It defined me. It was my modus operandi, obviously. As leader of the Smileys, I would wear a smiley mask. And it would, it was a character, and every time I put the mask on, I become the character, even now, as you have probably noticed. And
Your voice has changed.
for a time, I referred to myself as a productive member of society on the basis of, as the character Mr. Smiley. This was after I got released from Parsons the first time. I would always refer to myself as I am now a productive member of society. I'm a good guy now. You know, little things like that.
Did you say it in the way you just said it?
Kinda like that, yeah, actually. I was pushing a line of bullshit, though. I never had any intention of doing that at the time. Because I had a lot of plans that I needed to see through to fruition. But you've caught me, though, in a place in my life right now to where... this damn jacuzzi! You've caught me in a place in my life right now to where I am, well, not really planning much. You know, I'm kind of,
You're in limbo.
Yeah, I guess you could say something like that. Yes, my
I've
name
always
is
liked the word
Mr.
limbo because
Smiley.
limbo, by definition, is a place between two places, right? At this point, it's up to you to choose which direction you go from there.
Yeah, something like that, yeah. It's it's not been easy. I'm gonna be blunt, you know, trying to find my place in a world where, you know, people are afraid of you and they see you and they try to avoid you as much as possible. You know, it makes me want to go back down that life, but then I remember that I don't want to go to prison forever. Going to prison is not great. You want to know the worst thing about prison? It's not the violence. It's not the Molotov cocktails. It's not the people. It's not even the food. It's the boredom. It's so boring, prison. Darkwoods was not boring. Bolingbroke was boring. And it was not... It's not a place you want to be at for any long-term sentences, I'll tell you that much.
Course. Yeah, I mean, that's the point of prison, right? If nothing else, well, it is a selfish and not, like, altruistic reason, not wanting to go back to prison is a motivator to be clean. You know?
Yes. I suppose so. I can concede to that, yes.
One second, I'm gonna text from someone else so you can respond to.
Is anybody actually watching? Are they watching? Are they filming?
What? I don't know.
Is anybody filming, huh? Huh? Hello?
Do you think someone's around?
I'm just, wondering. I'm just curious.
So, I mean, we've had the concept of bardom come up a lot, right? You grew bored of your old activities. You're bored in prison. What other things interest you? Do you have other interests, other hobbies, things that make you feel joy or fulfillment?
I like lurking about, but I guess that's certainly not that much different than...
I don't know if I would consider lurking a hobby.
Well, I mean, I like to sit at senior buns and just kind of watch.
Watch.
Yeah, I do like people watching. But then again, I feel almost as if that's a connection to, like... Like, I did obviously a lot of people watching when I was doing my thing, so, I'm...
It's kind of a gateway.
Yeah. Okay, well,
like
maybe I'm trying to think of...
music, reading, cooking,
Oh, yeah, I love
painting,
movies.
anything like that.
I love movies. Well, mostly older movies. Not so much these, the films that come out these days, but, I'm something of a movie buff, or at least I try to be somewhat of a movie buff. We had to kind of know about pop culture because, we were making films, so, we were educated on pop culture. So I am a proponent of pop culture.
Okay.
Maybe ask me a question, and maybe I can try and see if I can give you an answer.
No, I believe you. I think so. A lot of times when you're looking at ex-convicts, etc., who are trying to re-enter society after periods in prison and are trying to, not. Oh my god, I'm totally spacing on the word. Go back to prison. But a lot of times, most of the ones who do sort of have that sort of relapse and go back, and granted, your situation is slightly different because you have a bit more of like a... It's not like you're just like some low-level gangster that's like, stuck in the life, pushing drugs or whatever.
Yeah,
right?
I'm a fucking cult leader who manipulated and brainwashed people.
But still...
And terrorized like half the citizens.
The biggest thing that tends to push recidivism, there's my word, is not having alternatives. Let's find alternatives for you. Let's make sure you don't
kind
get
of
caught.
have an alternative, although I'm not sure you'd approve.
What is it?
Well, I'm kind of working on a thing right now. Now, my other therapist, Tanner, he's down for it, and a lot of other people, they're kind of down for it. But, like, I am putting together a tour. Essentially, the tour is tentatively called the Smiley Murder Tours. Basically, what we would be doing is going on tours with people that are interested to locations in which people have been murdered and or attempted to be murdered.
So you're revisiting your crimes?
Well, okay. So it's not just my crimes.
But also those of your followers.
No, not even just them. Like, other killers. Like, here's the thing about me. I have a bit of a vested knowledge of the killers in this city. I guess you could call me almost like a Hannibal Lecter type, because I know a lot about these motherfuckers, over the years. Not all of them, but some of them. I knew one of the most prolific killers this city's ever known in Chastity Dawes. She was a personal friend of mine. I knew Jasper Saxon, who was the cassette tape killer. And also his resurrected copycat. Don't at me. And quite a few others as well. And I basically, what I'm trying to do with this tour is I'm trying to show people places so they can be kind of aware of what could happen and where you might be taken, what signs to kind of look out for. Maybe
so you're
finding
at this more of like a public safety preventative approach.
Yes, I mean it is a bit of an ego trip, but it's also kind of
it is a little masturbatory in a way. But...
Masturbatory. Right. Yeah, yes, that. And it is certainly a it is kind of like a public service sort of thing. And for those who are interested in just knowing, or what's the term? There's a term, adrenaline junkies. People who like haunted houses. Sort of just a lot of just people who have interest in that, the macabre. I kind of wanted to provide that for them. And considering my history, I feel like I would be very qualified to present that to them. Without the killing part.
Okay. Do you feel like this would be something that tempted you to return to those activities, though? To discuss them in such detail, to return to sites that you may have used or that
I mean,
acts were committed
I
upon?
haven't exactly stopped discussing those details, you know? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
like you said yourself, I look back at it with pride.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't necessarily mean that I'm gonna go back to it. I mean, I would say no. But I guess you could. I could never definitively say no, but I would. I am smart enough. I am meticulous enough. I am detailed enough to
Mm-hmm.
where I'm not. I'm not stupid. I'm not stupid, Maeve. I
No, I don't think you are.
wouldn't compromise myself if I didn't know that I could handle it.
Mm-hmm.
In my opinion.
Yeah. My only concern with this, I mean, if you think you can handle it and that it's not going to be tempting for you, then, that's one thing. But, you know, road to hell is paved with good intentions and all that. So, well, I don't think you're stupid, making sure that if, you are feeling that temptation, that you have the strength of will and the motivation to pull back and to, have the wherewithal to recognize that those things are starting to happen before it's too late. Um, I'm not going to tell you not to do it, but I would tell you to be very cautious and to be very sure.
Okay,
Um,
so in your opinion, and I asked Tanner this as well,
mhm.
should I just be Kenneth or can I be Mr. Smiley during those tours? You know, for the theatrical part.
I would stick with Kenneth.
I
I would
figured you'd say
absolutely
that.
avoid Mr. Smiley. Yeah. Yeah, I
Perhaps I'll
think
introduce you to some of the other characters at some point.
maybe, yeah. I would be very careful. I would say that it might be more beneficial for you to pursue something that's entirely separate. If you like movies, maybe you can start a movie production company or a talent agency or something like that, right? Um, run pop culture quiz nights at a pub. Do something that is a separate hobby, a separate pursuit. And if you can turn that into a business endeavor, that's powerful motivation for you to you know stick with it. It brings you a reward in monetary compensation, in pride, in having possibly employees that rely on you, for like job security, etc. Learn those, the city can use more businesses and such at the moment.
Of course, yes, yes.
um I think that might be a more productive use of your time. It doesn't have to be movies, it's just spitball enough of what you've given me. um but I think that you have the capability to be more than Mr. Smiley. I think you have the capability to be more than that guy who, did all these terrible things. I think you have the capability to be more than the fellow that escaped Darkwood's prison. Yeah. Like I said, your scars may be part of who you are, but you're the one that chooses the path going forward. You can't choose what was done to you, but you can choose what you're doing with your life from here. You can choose your reactions to it. Even if you only do so out of spite for everyone who thought you couldn't or for everyone who inflicted you harm. Prove them wrong.
Hmm.
You might have been pushing a line of bullshit with your productive member of society, line before. But God, wouldn't it be so funny if suddenly you weren't? And all those people who were like, yeah, he's full of shit, he's a creepy, you know, terrible guy. And, it'll take time to build that trust with people to make them see that this is genuine, if it is genuine from you, but like you are capable. And
Do
like you
you
said, you aren't
think that it's possible for me to be in love?
mm, with the diagnosis you've given me, I think it's unlikely. I wouldn't say impossible.
Okay, well, I had a girlfriend for like 7 years. We're still kind of maybe sort of together, maybe tentatively. It's just she's in a bit of a place right now, and no decisions have been made yet about whether or not we are on again or not. But yes, I did have a girlfriend, if you can believe that, and I love her more than anything. Which is why I didn't necessarily agree with Sarah's diagnosis at first, but then she's told me that there's a lot of factors that go into the concept of a social, what is the term? A social anxiety personality disorder, or whatever you call it, in which, people are different, people, it's a wide breadth of things, and, she's the only person that I have ever fallen in love with. Like, ever. And, like, I had always scoffed at the idea of love, and even to this day, I still scoff at the idea of love, except when it comes down to her. She's the only thing that I can say that I love romantically. I love a lot of people. Like, I've never done anything out of malice, I love
Sure.
my family, and I love my friends.
But romantic love is different.
Yes.
I think too, and I'm not saying this is necessarily the case. Perhaps Sarah's diagnoses were incorrect. Perhaps they are correct. It's really hard for me to say based just on one session. Um, no, I'm also, not a licensed psychiatrist, so like my input is, somewhat limited in the aspect of a diagnosis. Um, there is a possibility for people who are psychopaths or sociopaths or narcissists to love the idea of people or love what people do for them, love the way that they make them feel without loving the person as they are. And I'm not saying that's what's happening with you. Like, you could be feeling something that is akin to love, or makes you feel a way that you expect love to make you feel without it being love in like a traditional sense. But I also don't think that necessarily makes it any less valuable as long as the relationship is healthy, which can be difficult if your diagnoses are correct. Narcissists tend to not have successful relationships. Just because inherently a relationship is something between two people. If you're only giving a shit about yourself, it doesn't go well, right? Um,
That's the thing, though, is that I personally think it went. Maybe you could talk to her about it, really, honestly, if you.
maybe. I mean, that being said, though, despite the current difficulties of things being up in the air, it does seem like it's been a long-term relationship.
It has
So
been.
maybe things are going well. Maybe she's happy. Maybe.
I mean, we've had our ups and downs, but I've always treated her with nothing but respect. I've always tried to be good for her. I mean, maybe she would have a different answer to that, interpretation, but
Maybe.
like she would even call me out. Like, she would tell me that, she would call me a narcissist, but not out of like anger or anything, but always just kind of in a jovial manner.
Was she one of the people in your group, or was she outside it?
That one, she wasn't ever in the group, but she was always present. She
Did
was.
you do the initiation ritual? You
No,
described
I
to me?
never. She was never initiated. She was always no. She's 100% her own. 100% her own person. It was
Do
never.
you feel you've ever manipulated her in any sort of way?
No, not since before we got together. There was a time where. So I infiltrated her crew of people who I was were aware of serial killers in the city, and I had a vested interest in serial killers because those were the types of people that I wanted to bring into the family. I knew she was my ticket to kind of figuring that out, so I infiltrated her crew. There was even a time where they actually literally were talking about shit that I did in front of me without even knowing that I was the one that perpetrated that shit. It made me smile. But eventually, things came to... Well, I had this idea in my head that I was probably going to kill her. So obviously, in that sense, yes, I was manipulating and trying to use her for information to get what I needed. But eventually something happened, to which she kind of knew or found out by some way, and we... Not to... There's a lot of layers to this. I'm not going to give you her baggage. That's something to talk to her about if she ever wanted to bring that up at any point.
We could have a session with the both of you at some point.
Right.
If she's open to it.
But, she, let's just say that one thing led to another, and what I thought was going to happen with me killing her did not happen. It did not happen, and she is an empath. So, because she's an empath, she sees things from the other person's perspective, and she has no judgment. Despite the fact that I was doing what I was doing, she didn't, like, betray me. She didn't go like, oh, why would you do this, you son of a bitch? She didn't try to kill me. She didn't try to do any of that. She accepted me as part of her world after that, which is something that nobody else probably would have ever done.
Yeah, that would have been a really new experience for you.
Yes, and there's a lot of nuance. Again, I'm not telling you everything because this is her story to tell. But, like, it was... It went from me wanting to potentially kill her to me becoming one of her closest friends and to me becoming one of her lovers. I never saw that coming, to say the least. And she just managed to, I guess, hit all the right beats.
Yeah.
And
I mean, that makes sense.
Just sort of happened. I went from, like, a stalker of her to, like, the one person that she truly loved. And the one person that I truly loved, which was her.
What do you think she wants from you going forward?
To be blunt, she doesn't really care what I do.
She doesn't have an issue with your previous...
She never did when I was doing it. She knew all about it.
Did she ever participate or do anything similar herself?
She didn't do anything herself. She was present during one because she's a very curious person. But she did not indulge in any of it herself. I mean, she has her own baggage. Again, I'm not revealing any of that to you. But, like, there's a problem. There might be somewhat of a reason to why she was interested in me. And again, because of her own baggage, it was very... It's incredibly nuanced, so it was kind of like lightning in a bottle, I think. That's probably the best way I could describe it.
Okay. So, while she may not have an issue,
You might as well invite that person here.
that wouldn't really be confidential, would it?
No, I suppose not.
Well, she may not necessarily have an issue with your previous activities. I think she can also be a good motivator for you to sort of continue to refrain from doing those, right? You go to prison, she's not going to be there with you. You know, you can provide a life for her outside of that.
Yes.
I think it's important for you to try and discover who you are outside of Mr. Smiley, outside of Kenneth from Darkwoods, outside of, you know, Kenneth from Bolingbrook, outside of, all of that. Um, just spend time with her if you can. Try and find other things that bring you joy. Try and find motivations and reasons to stay on the path that you're currently on, because I think it's a good one, and I'm actually quite impressed, and I'm very hopeful that you will continue on the path that you're currently on. It's a very rare and intriguing thing, presuming that you're not feeding me a line of bullshit, which is of course a possibility. But it's a rare and intriguing thing to actually see someone with your tendencies grow tired of it, have a potential interest in reforming.
Let's not use that word.
Okay, well, reassimilating, maybe?
Better.
Mm-hmm. Those parts of you will always be part of you. But again, you choose whether or not you act on them. You choose how you react to the situations you're given. You choose what matters most to you. You, historically, throughout your life, have been in positions where you had very few choices. Where you had very little freedom. And right now, you are actually in a place where you have tons of it.
True.
Records are gone. You're not in shackles and stripes. There's plenty of people here who have no idea who Mr. Smiley is.
There's plenty that do.
True. Even your distinctive scars that made you who you are, or maybe who you used to be in some ways, are less. You have a ton of freedom to be exactly the kind of person you wish you could have been. And not the person you felt you were forced to become. You're at a really big crossroads right now. And you can choose a different path than the one you were going down. Now is your prime opportunity for that. Probably the best opportunity you've ever had or will ever get.
I've had a few opportunities, that's for sure. More than most. If I'm being honest, I should probably be dead right now, but yet, here I am. So you're telling me, though, the sky is the limit, yes?
When I'm telling you your limit is whatever limit you assign yourself.
I mean, I knew that.
Yeah,
I know
recognize
that.
That sounds like some cheesy therapist speak, but like, but it's in your case, especially at this moment, particularly true.
Yes. That is accurate. It's just, I suppose just my whole thing is that, I don't want to change too much.
Mm-hmm. Well, you're not saying you have to fundamentally change who you are. You can still be charismatic. You can still have your interest in psychology. You can still, you probably will still have, urges, dark thoughts, whatever, from time to time. It's just how you manage it. It's how you choose to live your life. It's what you choose to be your priorities.
Right. No, this is good stuff. I'm enjoying myself.
Well, good. I'm glad.
I like to hear different perspectives because this is what I've been doing,
Mm-hmm.
Tanner doesn't really have much of a perspective. Sarah was more or less intrigued and just liked to kind of listen and, she was never in it to make me better per se.
Yeah.
And Joanna was just kind of a fun little side adventure, I suppose. But you might be the first one, though, who has actively told me that that I'm not beyond saving.
I think there are very few people that are, like I said, maybe not beyond saving, but at least beyond improvement. Will you ever
Right.
be objectively, by society's definition, a good person? I don't know. Can you be better than what you have been? Yes. And right now, maybe it's just a time in your life that we're meeting at, but right now, I think you, again, have that unique opportunity to change,
I see.
to pivot.
Pivot! 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 Sorry. Well, yeah.
I mean, like, I see the things that, that you said you've gone through. Like, those are, like I said, they're undeniably traumatic events. They were things beyond your control. They were situations that made you feel powerless. You made choices you had to make to survive. You're not in that situation anymore. You're just not.
Definitely not.
You're not in survival mode. No one's forcing you to do anything. You're just
I did feel like
a
I
guy
was
with
for
a dark
very
past
long
standing next to a
time.
jacuzzi talking to a therapist.
Yeah.
With a girlfriend that he loves deeply. With hobbies that he's passionate about. No criminal record, no warrants.
Yeah, I suppose that's one way of putting it, for sure.
Get the opportunity. That would be my advice. But I can't make you. You've got to choose to do it.
Of course. But, like I kind of said, I'm not necessarily in it to... I don't know what the word would be. Rehabilitate myself, per se.
Sure.
I'm
Well,
more
just
so
because-
interested in the conversation.
Yeah, you can still continue to have those. In fact, I would actively encourage you to have those. Just because, let's say you magically walk up to the session, you're like, I'm going to be a better man. I'm going to, blah, blah, blah. Like, you can and should still have regular conversations with therapists, whether that's me or otherwise, to talk about your struggles, to celebrate your successes, to, manage any, urges or inclinations you might have, to go through those sorts of things, and to also, even just talk about your past and start to unravel some of the things that happened to you there. And if
Are you telling me you want a second session?
We can do a second session, yeah.
Okay.
If using psychology as a tool to understand yourself is helpful to you, I don't see a downside to that. In fact, I can actually relate to that. I'm autistic, so my dad was a psychology professor, and he was able to break people down in a way that scientifically made sense to me. So when I wasn't necessarily picking up on cues, I could use science to understand why they acted the way they did. So psychology being a tool to help you understand the world around you isn't a bad thing, or like a sinister thing.
I see. Sarah once told me that she thought I would make a good therapist. She immediately regretted saying that.
It's not impossible.
I don't know, me, a therapist, that's like...
You'd have some work on yourself to do first, but
well,
no
yeah, of
therapist
course.
is perfect.
But given, a guy who brainwashed people, put people through psychological torment, I mean...
Yeah.
Wasn't
As
exactly...
you stand right now, I would heavily advise against it. I think that'd probably be a pretty bad idea.
Right.
But maybe, a long ways down the road, after a lot of change in your life has occurred, Is it impossible?
I mean,
No.
I can tell you it's not impossible because there was a dude offering therapy yesterday, who should not be giving therapy to people, but, you know,
Who's that?
Alexander Rex.
Why do you think that?
Because once upon a time we hired him to help us, burn a church down, when we were having a funeral for a friend. It was a whole thing. Technically, okay, I wasn't actually present, when that happened. I was in prison. I've been in prison here in Bolingbroke twice. Maybe I'll get into that more later. But, the first time I was in Bolingbroke, you know, my cohorts, burned a church down, while they were having a funeral for, one of our friends. It was meant to be a true Smiley goodbye, and the best way possible to have a Smiley goodbye was to kill all the people in attendance, you know? It was just, you know,
See.
it was kind of our thing, you know, killing was kind of a... But that's neither here nor there. The fact is that Alexander Rex was part of that, and he is now
And that
providing
is a-
therapy for people,
Is
apparently.
he private practice?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Noted. I think this was a good start, a very productive first session. If you'd like to have a second one at some point, I'm more than willing. I'd say probably bi-weekly or so would probably be a good idea for you if you're open to that.
Okay. Yes, yes.
Of course, if if something happens in the meantime that is emergent and you want to do something, that's fine. I will say, going forward, just because of your history, that I will continue to have people within the area checking on,
So you
my well-being.
did?
I told
mean,
you that I did from the beginning.
Did you really tell? I thought that you were being a little coy about it.
No, I said there are people that know where I am. And I told you that. Yes,
Yeah, but
they're
you
checking
didn't
in
say they
roughly
were
every 5
watching. Were they
minutes.
watching?
No, they're checking in every so often.
Okay. Okay.
So, or at least as far as I know, anyways. But yeah, I will continue to be doing that. I think you understand why. So, but yeah, I'm absolutely willing to continue having these discussions with you. I think future sessions can hopefully be productive. If you want to do a couple session with your girlfriend at some point, I'm open to that if she is and you want to do that. But yeah, I would say walking away from today, our takeaways are just remembering that you are in control of your future and your mindset and your attitude and your actions.
Of course.
And try and think about some things that can be productive uses of your time, and your energy and things for you to pursue.
Okay.
And if you are feeling any sort of sinister urges or anything, maybe consider trying to give me a call and we can try and talk you down from that before anything happens. Yeah.
Sure thing, Maeve.
Okay. All right. Do you have any questions for me before we go?
How much do I owe you?
Whatever you feel the time is worth.
So I don't, have cash on me, at the
You can walk down
moment.
to the gas station if you want.
Yes,
There's
I
usually an
will.
ATM in those. Yeah.
I will do so.
Okay.
Actually, I guess we should just go there now. I'm not 100% sure how to actually get there. I don't know where you came from.
Just parked right below here.
But this... Oh, there are stairs here. I guess that would have been useful.
How did you get over here?
I climbed over the... From there. Like, I don't know. I climb on rooftops and grassy areas. Listen, that's what I do, okay? I don't like going downstairs. It's so normal.
I'm wearing heels. I'm limited.
Oh, right, of course. What do you mean? Bryce Dallas Howard could run from a T-Rex
Yeah,
in
Bryce
heels.
Dallas Howard could fight off a T-Rex in heels, but I'm not Bryce Dallas Howard, so
Hey, you could be if you wanted to be.
maybe. Yeah, I will just stay right here so I don't freak my my babysitters out. But if you want to head down to the gas station, then come back.
Okay.
Here. Okay.
her baby. I'm wondering if they are actually watching. Like, shit, I thought this was open. Buy $1,000.
Perfect, thank you.
You're welcome. I may not
Alright.
be able to give you 1,000 every time, but
That's fine. I don't believe in gatekeeping therapy behind paywalls, so
okay.
there's a reason I operate on the system I do.
Okay.
Okay.
Can you do me a favor?
Hmm.
I mean, maybe you don't want me to get into your car. Maybe you'll, maybe not. But like, is it possible you could drop me off at a gas station that has food?
Do you need more food?
Yes, food and water. I didn't exactly stop to get food this morning, like I said. Oh, hell yeah. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, fine. I'll get into the car next time, right? Next time, yeah?
Maybe. We'll see. Right now I
want to
could be
show you
sold
some
it.
places.
Okay, well we can maybe talk about that.
Okay.
Okay. Alright, you be safe, Kenneth, yeah?
Yes, you be safe as well.
Alright.
Have a good one. Just gonna have him just stand here, watch. It's good that she didn't want him to get in the car right away. No, that's good. I don't know how much longer I'm going to be around. I didn't sleep. Or I haven't slept. I mean, I would, after work, I would typically go and like sleep or something like after, because I work early in the morning, so like. Oh, Bo's around. There's another Maeve Wolf. And Patricia Neon's around, but not, Yeah, Alexander Rex is a therapist. Or at least he's a private practice therapist. Hold on. There we go. Actually, hold on. I'll be right back. Okay. Anyway. I don't know why I had to do that. Anyway, hello people, presumably from Maeve's chat, or at least people who have some, some knowledge of Maeve.
Well, I'd love to get
Appreciate you guys hanging out.
That is my favorite show. Oh, damn. That's a disappointment. Well, what about one of them shows on BT? Hello? Hey there.
No, he hasn't. I kind of want that to happen organically, if it happens at all. I haven't actually been here. I mean, I have been here, but I mean, I haven't been here since, like, 4.0 started. Speaking of,
Dr. Rex.
the Alexander Rex? The Dr.
Oh,
Rex?
Not you.
So my
I've
eyes have
been
not
in
been
town.
deceiving me.
I have been in town for 4 months now. Why are you now calling?
You've been in town for 4 months. I'm just now seeing your name in the lemon list, they're calling it now, I guess.
Yeah, well, I did take a little break, but only for like 2 or 3 weeks. Otherwise, I've mostly been in the yellow pages, so I think you're just blind, Jesperson.
Apparently I am, actually. I only just noticed you, like, the other day. I'm like, what the fuck? Is this for real?
Yes, it's me.
Like, are you actually, like, doing therapy and shit?
I know, it's, the irony is not lost on me.
I mean, okay, so you have an ulterior motive then, yes?
No,
Really?
I am fully medicated and therapized myself, so no ulterior motive.
Interesting. Is that, like... is it working?
Yeah, it is.
Have you, like, had moments?
No, the facility took care of that before they even thought about releasing me.
I see. I'm not
I
calling
am
because,
for-
you know, of any, you know, like, oh, what the fuck are you doing? I'm actually genuinely curious to see where you're at.
No, I kind of figured people would see the name and start reaching out eventually.
So, have you actually provided therapy for people?
A couple people.
Huh. Is it good therapy?
Well, I should hope so, considering most of them return.
I see. What are your rates?
I usually just do 500 an hour plus tips.
Oh, damn. Okay, okay. Huh.
Try to keep it approachable.
Have you been contacted by, Dahlia?
Faye?
Ooh. Okay,
Who?
you would have remembered her as Honey.
Ah, no. I have not.
Huh. I don't know how she would feel about this.
Probably not good.
No, probably not good. I mean, I have moved on from that stuff. But she is a different sort. That being said, she's been busy doing her own thing, so I don't think she really cares. But
Well, maybe she'll forget I existed, and it'll be fine.
perhaps. Just interesting, you know, to see you out and about. I mean, have you told people your history?
I mean, I haven't hidden that I've come back or what I did before. Like,
Neither have I.
I've talked to Pixie, and Pixie obviously knows who I am and what happened, so.
Mm.
And yet she's the one who's inviting me to work with her counselors, so.
Interesting.
Maybe folks are willing to give a second chance, but listen, Jesperson, let's be real. You and I were in the game for a very long time. One of three things happens. You die, or you get put down like a rabid beast. Well, I guess only one of two things happen. You die, or you get better.
Put down like a rabid beast.
Yeah.
Although I guess there's a third option, and that's us.
Yeah. It's, a delicate
You're not the only
balancing
one.
act.
I'm just gonna put that out there. You're not the only one. I'm not just talking about myself either.
Yeah, well, I'm also technically not supposed to reach out to any of my past victims. My parole officer is going to be very grumpy
Oh.
with me.
I'm not a victim. What the fuck?
No, but you and I were compatriots and or adversaries at one point.
Yes, I guess there's a little, fine details there. Well, I mean, they're not... are they checking your phone logs or something?
Yeah, I got a...
Well, I called you, so you know.
That's probably going to be the only reason I don't get in trouble.
Okay, well,
I'm on a suspended 15-year sentence for what I did to Bundy.
Oh, damn. Interesting.
But they let me go to therapy and get my degree, so...
So what you're saying is that you've really turned your life around?
Yeah, honestly, my PO said if he didn't know my case file, he would have never known what I did.
Well, that's usually how it goes. I mean, that's that's par for the course with people like us. We usually, don't exactly put our personas on our, what's the term? I don't know, sleeve or whatever the fuck it is. I don't know, whatever it is, but we don't always openly, talk about, oh yeah, I used to murder 700,000 people,
Yeah, well, I have found that the puzzle that is the human mind is much more interesting than taking apart the human body. So I'm enjoying my retirement.
To that we kind of agree.
Except, without the whole cult brainwashing thing.
I mean, of course. I mean, have you thought about it, though?
No, Jesperson, that's the point of
Not
the
even a little
18
bit?
medications I take.
So wait, you just take the pill and then it just makes you not want to, like, brainwash people or murder a bunch of people?
I take like, let's see, I take 5 pills in the morning, 2 pills in the afternoon, and 6 pills before I go to bed.
Damn, that's a lot of pills.
Yeah, well, it keeps me from being a slavering lunatic, so I'll take it.
Interesting. Huh.
I have a job and a degree and a second shot at not being a fucking, again, ravening lunatic. So.
Oh, come on, you can't look at it that way, though. You can't be like... Don't use their words.
Jesperson, at one point, I literally sawed off a man's skull cap, reached behind his brain, and popped out his eyeball.
And?
That's that's lunatic behavior, sir.
Okay, it is lunatic behavior. I agree, it is lunatic behavior. But my point is that you shouldn't use their words. That's them talking. That's not you talking.
Yeah, well, them talking is the reason I got to leave the facility after only 3 years, so I'll take it.
It's usually how it works. Well, regardless, I'm glad to see that you're doing well, at the very least. I'm glad to see that, you're out and about.
Yeah, could have been worse. Are you planning on falling off the wagon, or are you shooting for the straight and narrow?
I mean, I haven't killed anybody yet, so I'd say I'm
don't like
pretty...
yet at the end of that.
I'm pretty straight and narrow at this... I don't have any intention of reoffending, because you want to know why I have no intention of reoffending?
Why not?
Because prison fucking sucks.
Well, yeah, it's prison, Jesperson.
I know, right? And it's just like... it's not a place I would... I don't want to go back there. So, I'm behaving myself. I am a productive member of society, as they call it. as my
Yeah,
last
what are you up
therapist
to
calls it.
then?
What am I up to?
Yeah, what do you do then?
Oh, man. That's a good question. What do I do? I mean, I'm trying to put together some things here. I'm trying to put together a tour business. You know, maybe show people some places of historical significance and, you know, teach them a thing or two, because there's a lot of people that are uninformed about what goes on around the city, so I, you know, was interested in sort of giving them details to perhaps better protect themselves for the future. You know, I'm actually thinking about, you know, doing some good. I don't know.
Oh, look at you. How magnanimous.
I know, right?
Well, kudos to you for doing it without the chemical crutch, but at this point, I think I know myself well enough to know that without it, I would be just the same as I was 5 years ago.
Does it ever make you feel dull?
Oh, always, but again, dull is better than what it was.
Well, just don't overdo it.
Hopefully, coming back to this city won't give me a reason to do so.
Okay, well then it's probably for the best that you don't come on one of my tours when I have them, because it's all about, you know, shit like that.
Yeah, probably not a good idea.
Probably
Again,
not.
though, I wouldn't be able to come on your tour anyway, because
Oh,
I'm
right.
not technically supposed to contact you.
Right. Did they say that specifically? Don't talk to Kenneth Jesperson.
Don't talk to any of my previous co-conspirators,
Ah, I
adversaries, or
see.
victims.
Okay, I get you. Well,
Unless they reach out to me, which is why I'm not going to get in trouble for this.
okay. Well, regardless of that, I mean, I'm happy, and I would like to stay in touch with you somehow.
I mean, you could write a letter to my PO asking for permission to have monitored communications, but
Okay, well, if I happen to run into you, I mean, are they watching you as you're, like, going about the city?
I check in digitally every week, and once a month I'm required to check in with my PO at mission.
I see. So you're not, like... But, like, if I were to run into you on the streets, you wouldn't, like, have to run away from me, right?
Again, no, it's not. It's more. Again, I'm just not supposed to directly contact people.
Got it.
Obviously,
Got
they
it.
can't control people contacting me, especially with my job, and then obviously you can't determine what's going to happen in the city, you know?
Of course.
So, I mean, like I said,
Okay.
it's not the end of the world, but I won't be reaching out first.
Understandable. Probably for the best. Okay. I was just checking in, you know, because it's just like, it's not every day you see that name and therapist, so...
Yeah, I think I gave poor Pixie a heart attack when I first applied.
But
She,
she's the one
I-
who, what? Wait, did she, like...
So when the original applications went out, I went in and applied, and she stood there quiet for a good 3 minutes, just kind of staring at me while I spoke to the other therapist and got my application. But she reached out to me yesterday about getting on board with the private practice program and taking referrals from the hospital. So
So wait, that's a thing then? Private practice program?
as far as I'm aware, and in fact, from my understanding, most therapists in practice are private practice.
Well, what I mean is, like, there's like a... It sounds like there's a thing, though. Like, it's like actually like a... approved by, like, Pixie or something? Or, like...
I think it's less approved and more she knows people are going to do it anyway because Psych's not up and running, so they're just trying to keep track of everybody who's doing it.
Does this imply that you're going to work, then, for her, then?
Possibly.
Okay. I wasn't sure about that. Okay.
It depends. With my, shall we say, checkered past,
Right.
and my history with the hospital, it might be a struggle for me to get hired to the hospital, but that doesn't necessarily negate the fact that I could do private practice and still show up to court and stuff.
Okay. Well, That'll be interesting, seeing you in a courtroom, like, trying to, like, I don't know, like, being asked questions about, what you think of the accused.
Well, it'll be interesting to see me in a courtroom on the prosecution side.
Yeah, that's certainly a, that'll certainly be interesting. Hey, you think I should apply to be a prosecutor? You think that would be something that would be completely like out of nowhere and like unexpected?
I think you would have a harder time applying for prosecutor than I will for the hospital.
You think I should apply for the psychology department? You think they would hire me too?
No, I think Pixie might throw you directly into the garbage.
Yeah, you're not wrong about that. Not wrong about that.
I'm honestly surprised at how willing she is to work with me, all things considered.
Well, I mean, hey.
But
I mean, what you did probably, well, but that was like fucking a long time ago.
well, I mean, discounting the Bundy situation, there was the whole 27 spree of victims previously as well.
Interesting. Well,
Got off of that set on a technicality.
right, I think I remember that. Was that like that? Wasn't that like fucking? Who was that? Wasn't that like wasn't that like EMS or something?
It was several people. But PD just didn't follow through on the prosecution.
Because I remember, like,
the news.
wasn't there like a habeas corpus filed or some shit?
Yeah, and they threw a tantrum. So it's like, well, what do you expect? That I'm just gonna passively sit here for however
Right.
long it takes you to put the charges through?
Yeah, there hasn't. I don't think there's been a habeas corpus since.
Hey, nephew.
No, there were several.
Was there? Oh, okay. Well, I mean,
Oh,
for
yeah.
people like
Many.
us, I mean.
There were several.
Really? Were there?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well.
The reason there ended up being less towards the end is the DOJ got tired of PD taking a fucking dog's age to push
Yeah.
charges on HUT people, and so they said 3 days or you're out.
Fair, definitely. Huh. Interesting. Well, I'm not gonna keep you much longer, but, you know, I was just interested in, you know, what the fuck was up, and, you know, maybe, well, I guess I can't really be your patient, but, you know,
No, that would be highly unethical, even if I wasn't under parole condition.
right.
Wildly unethical.
Yeah, pretty unethical, you know. Hey, listen, it wasn't actually my decision, though. You know, like, you were working for, like, fucking, you were working for, like, Honey and Betty, weren't you?
I was working for several people at several different points.
Right. You know, and then you, like, burning churches down, you know? That was that was
That
interesting.
was a one-time thing. I'm not usually a big fan of burning down buildings, but
I mean, I'm not either. I mean, that's why, you know, I wasn't even there, because I was in prison at the time, but, you know. So, I mean, technically speaking, you and I mean, like, in general principle, we've never really, you know, had much actual correspondence, per se. That was all secondhand shit, really. I mean, theoretically speaking, I could technically be, you know, in the clear for you. But I get
Except for
it.
the part where I used Betty's code word and turned him into a slavering freak of nature.
Oh,
for the better
fuck,
part
I
of a
forgot
month and a
about
half.
that. Fuck you for that, you know?
Well, I had a job. I was hired and I
That
did
was
it.
pretty fucked up, you know?
Well, I did a lot of fucked up things, Jesperson. It's why I'm on so much medication now, so I do less fucked up
Yeah, you
things.
should stay on the medication.
I planned on it.
Just maybe, like I said, don't overdo it, you know? You never know. Take too much of it, you know? Might really
Well,
fuck you up.
It's been the better part of 3 years, and we have finally perfected it. So Did you think I was taking so many pills for fun, Jesperson?
I imagine that you weren't taking them for fun. Wait, can I ask who, like, prescribed it?
A team of psychiatrists.
Okay, so this was, nobody that I would know?
No. So after I was arrested for the Bundy situation, I was transferred to one facility that was very bad. I was free for a while, and then I got picked up again for violating a previous parole. Was transferred to a federal facility where I was diagnosed as psychotic, surprising nobody.
Oh, really?
And then I was given some leeway in my sentencing because apparently, if you're psychotic, you kind of can't help it.
Really?
To an extent.
Because I was diagnosed as a fucking psychopath.
I don't know. Maybe you gotta remember this wasn't a Los Santos court.
Yeah,
so
fucking... We said it was or it wasn't?
wasn't.
Oh, of course, yeah.
This was a court in California.
Ah, I see.
And so instead, I was remanded to a federal mental health facility where I was continued to be diagnosed and treated with electroshock and medications. And when my team of psychiatrists thought that I was safe, I was released under a suspended sentence for my 15 days.
Well, you were, I guess, very fortunate.
Extremely. I'm required to continue to take my medications and check in with my PO, and so long as I do that, I will get to stay outside of a prison until I have finished up my entire sentence.
Well, congratulations on making it.
Thank you.
Alright, what do I call you? Is it just Alexander? Is it Rex? Or just...
Alex, Alexander, Rex, whichever you prefer. I'm not picky.
Alright, Alex, I'm gonna let you go. You probably have people to talk to and shit. But it was good talking to you. Obviously I can't be a patient, but you know, if it ever happens one day, you know, I'd be happy. It'd be fun.
It was pleasant talking to you as well as Jesperson. Have a good day.
You too, Alex. Have
Bye-bye.
a good one. Stay safe. Interesting. Very interesting. Very, very, very interesting. Like, Kenneth didn't know anything about, like, the Bundy shit. I don't know. Maybe? Actually, yeah, I think it might have been. I think it might have been. Yeah. Yeah, they have. Like, I've taken an approach. It's an approach that I feel like is an approach that fits this character. Him being quote-unquote kind of bored of it, you know? But him always having the possibility of doing it again, you know? But never actually doing it. Because it's just like, I don't like the idea of, like, having Kenneth be, like, reformed. Or, you know, like, anything other than kind of who he is. Which is, you know, because, you know, he you gotta be real here. He's, you know, a fucked up dude who led the charge, so to speak, in the serial killer wars. And, like, it's I didn't want to make him too different. Like, he's never taken any medication. And I don't really intend for him to start taking any medication. Like, just his, like, intuition. Because, I mean, considering who he was, like, again, like, keeping his intellect, like, he's smart enough to kind of, I mean, yeah, he doesn't want to go back to prison, you know? I mean, it is logical. He doesn't want to go back to prison. I mean, he's okay with going to prison. He's just not okay with going to prison for, you know, for life. Because the odds are he's probably going to wind up going to prison. Just not for, you know, what the typical stuff. I mean, yeah, that is basically it. The difference is that, you know, he is definitely, he's not doing it, you know. Not just because, you know, he can't, you know, I can't, but because, you know,
I like your style.
like a lot of people, they'll say, I ain't going back, you know, I'm not going back to prison, you know, and they usually wind up going back to prison because they do the same thing again.
Come on.
But obviously, in this case, Kenneth is actually going to live up to that. But I mean, the psychological aspects, you know, are definitely probably going to continue. He may not kill people, but, you know, psychological torment in one way or another will most certainly find itself continuing. Yeah. And it's like Kenneth got a little quiet whenever Maeve would bring up stuff like, oh, well, you know, you don't... Like, Kenneth likes people kind of, you know, seeing him in this way. You know, he kind of likes it. And she's kind of like, you know, well, you know, you could do this, and, like, it'll, you know, be great, and it'll be, like, you know, it'll give a different perception of you. And it's just like, Kenneth, just he likes the perception. He likes that perception. Which is why he continues to kind of play into it. So, I'm actually thinking I might take a beat, and if I can get into the server at 3... True. If I can get into the server... then I might come back, but I'm thinking about taking a beat. No. No, restart has been happening an hour later because of spring forward. So it's not happening until 3, actually. Yeah, it's still currently, I think next week, maybe, everything will be good, back to normal, maybe, question mark? Oh, wait, let me, where am I? It doesn't look like she's around. Alright, so she's not around right now. Yeah, he has. Oh, yeah, he has a few times. Matter of fact, that's how he got that horse. A1106? I don't remember it being that. Oh, wait. Okay. 1105. There we go. Alright, I will maybe come back at 3 if I can. Or whatever, you know. I'll probably queue up for sure, but whether or not I come back, I do not know. Till then, I'm gonna call it for now. Thanks for people that were hanging out. From Pastel, is that how you say it? Pastel stream? It was good to get to meet her, and hopefully we can have many more conversations in the future. Many more fun conversations, fun-filled conversations. Because I had a great time. But anyway, yeah, I'll see y'all later, and I'm actually, let me see if I can find her now. Let's see. Actually, wait, give me 1 second. One day I'll be able to do this, like, quickly without having to tell people that that's what I'm doing. One day I'll be a good streamer. One day. But that day is not today. There she is. Okay. Alright. I will, maybe be back later. Yeah, we'll see what happens. Alright, peace out. See y'all on the flip side.